And likewise, the homeless seem to have taken a liking to the spirited young group. In a bid to boost economic growth, the Australian government plans to cut unemployment benefits, which it says will force people to look for jobs. The last street count conducted by the City of Sydney revealed that there are over 300 rough sleepers in the city. That's a 16% increase from the same time last year. The figures show that a stronger professional and systematic response is needed to find a permanent solution to homelessness in Australia. Until then, community groups like Amy can do their bit to help.
We've met people that have come from amazing backgrounds, that have degrees and everything, but they just couldn't get on their feet. And a lot of them are migrants, or if they're like Australian born, they just couldn't get on their feet, or they just didn't have the support for it. But these people are so interesting, absolutely interesting. Like you sit and talk with them for so long. And that's when you build rapport and with these people, and it's definitely what we aim to do. But alrighty, let's get on the bus, we're good to go. Ladies on the bus, ladies on the bus, ladies on the bus.
Am I back with you guys?
Okay.
Reem Saker, Press TV, Sydney.
Palestinians complain that local industries such as tourism in the West Bank city of Bethlehem are being directly affected by illegal Israeli actions, such as the construction of illegal Jewish settlements on confiscated Palestinian lands and the separation wall that divides the city. Mona Kandil has the details.
The birthplace of Jesus, Bethlehem, is enduring a shocking reality. The impact of Israeli settlements and their growth has been devastating. 22 Israeli settlements around Bethlehem, this little city, the home of 25,000 Palestinians, are steadily strangling access, prompting tourists to stay away from one of the most popular tourist spots in occupied Palestine. Adding to the hardships in Bethlehem is Israel's concrete and steel separation wall, which was erected over a decade ago. It has severely affected Bethlehem's economy and the movement of its residents. The separation wall runs along the city's northern side, within meters of houses. Here, where the Israeli separation wall divides Bethlehem, the holy site of Rachel's tomb now lies on the Israeli side.
All
the area here is closed. Look, the separation wall is to my left, and in front of us there is the Israeli checkpoint known as Rachel's tomb, in addition to the many checkpoints surrounding the city of Bethlehem and on the way to Jerusalem. All this has negatively affected tourism and economy.
The separation wall has a devastating effect on the lives of Palestinians living here. I am one of those who have been negatively affected, because my shop is located straight opposite to the separation wall. When the tourists visit Bethlehem, many of them come here just to observe how the wall has divided the city in two, and how it has isolated Bethlehem from Jerusalem.
So, many of the Palestinians living nearby have been forced to move, as several lands were confiscated for the construction of Jewish settlements. Several shops and businesses were closed down here as a result. Despite the Israeli occupation that controls Palestinians' lives and surrounds them with the apartheid wall, despite the fact that Bethlehem's landscape, heritage and social fabric are besieged and are under threat, the people of Bethlehem are still struggling here for justice, love, peace and freedom. Bethlehem was once the thriving tourist center of Palestine, with hundreds of thousands of people flocking to the old city every year, especially in the run-up to Christmas and pilgrimage season, where Christians visit the city and the Nativity Church, the birthplace of Jesus. However, while tens of thousands of Christians make their way to Bethlehem to celebrate the birth, life and death of Jesus, they find this city isolated, especially from its twin Jerusalem, Al-Quds. Israelis have begun counteracting the flow of tourists into Bethlehem by leading Israeli tours from Jerusalem for one-day trips to Bethlehem, where thousands of people will visit the Church of Nativity, but they would not be able to visit the old city or support local trade by buying Palestinian goods.
Tens of millions of people from all over the world who want to come to Palestine, who want to visit the Holy Land, but they don't come because Palestine is under occupation, because on daily basis the Israelis are putting obstacles against their visit. We are under occupation and we have problems under occupation, but we cannot just wait for the occupation to end in order to bring tourists to come, despite all these problems, despite the wall, despite the settlements, because we Palestinians have hope.
Bethlehem's residents depend largely on pilgrims and tourists for their livelihood. They are known for their olive wood carvings, mother-of-pearl jewelry, and distinctive embroidery. But this year, many shop owners here in the Manger Square say that the number of tourists visiting the city has noticeably decreased compared to previous years. The turnout is lower this Christmas than in recent years. Shop owners say that the latest Israeli 50-day war on Gaza Strip that led to the killing of over 2,100 Palestinians and wounded over 11,000 others forced many of tourists to cancel their visit to the occupied territories, and this had brought a sharp drop in tourism, and the industry still has not recovered.
And the main reason of this year, it's the war of Gaza, for sure. That's the first reason that affected tourism in Bethlehem. Also the problems that happened in Jerusalem and all of these small accidents. Always, many press and many televisions move bad ideas about Palestinians. So people thought that it's not safe to walk all over around Bethlehem. This year was maybe the worst year since 10 years. I'm working with my family like 8 years. That's the worst year I ever worked at this business in this season.
No tourists at all. Sorry to tell you this word. I am in this business 51 years old, from 1964, the beginning of 1964. It is the first time that I have a Christmas like that one. But anyhow, we hope that this year, the coming in 2015, it will be improved, more tourists are coming. The war against Gaza in August, September, that will be affected. Second, the financial situation all over the world is running from worse to worse.
So, as 70% of Bethlehem's economy comes from tourism, the people here hope that Christmas and New Year won't just be an annual reminder of the city's plight. Above all, Bethlehem has one of the highest rates of unemployment of all West Bank cities at 18%. Bethlehem remains a strangulated city. Experts say that the losses stand at over $1 billion every year because of Israeli policy here. The separation wall, roads for settlers, and border controls seriously hinder local industry. For Reporters File, Mona Kandil, Occupied Bethlehem.
More than 170 women died as a result of intimate partner violence in Italy last year, while a United Nations report found domestic abuse as the most pervasive form of violence in the country. Although new laws on fighting and preventing gender violence have been introduced since the UN report, Italy continues to be a country where violence against women is not properly tackled, as Max Giavilli now reports.
Being a woman in Italy, the EU's third biggest economy, is not an easy task by any means these days. All major socioeconomic indicators show how disadvantaged women are in the country compared to the rest of the Eurozone. Not only Italy holds the highest level of female unemployment in Europe, being Italian women the most inactive in the labor market with a percentage of almost 50%, but they are also the worst paid.
The problem of the role of the woman in our society is very much felt today. The future of our families is at stake.
Women work today, while they used to mind the family until not long ago. Well, actually they don't exactly work, they help in the house earning some petty cash.
E perché c'è ancora una cultura molto maschilista.
A male-dominated mainstream culture persists in Italy, a country in which women continue to be objectified and have limited or unequal access to the labor market. As a matter of fact, we still largely occupy lower status positions than men. But it is within domestic walls that the situation for women is even worse. I'd say tragically dramatically worse at times.
A United Nations report on domestic violence in Italy denounces that domestic abuse is the most pervasive form of violence in the country, affecting over 30% of women in 2013. The UN study also warns that the majority of women who were abused, almost 90%, did not report the incidents to the police. A recent report on domestic violence by Social and Economic Researchers Institute EURES found that over 2,300 women were murdered in Italy. Practically one woman is killed within domestic walls in the country every other day.
Recently, a male tried to burn his wife alive with some flammable liquid while she was asleep. Their apartment caught fire and the woman ended up in tears, thinking that her husband had died in the fire, while the man had already left the place out of the conviction that his wife was dead. Women generally don't report their partners to police simply because they want to try to fix the relationship.
Il giornalismo in questo ancora pecca moltissimo.
In Italy, media continue to look for justifications to domestic violence against women. One day the violence is due to jealousy, the next to the economic crisis. This is unacceptable. A man that murdered or hit his partner has a serious problem and the authorities must intervene.
Recently, the Apulia region government has been admitted as civil plaintiff in the trial of a man who killed his companion and then burned her corpse in the province of Bari about a year ago. It is the first time ever that an Italian authority takes part as civil plaintiff in such a trial.
Le ragioni sono di doppia natura.
Our administration has opted to take part in the process as a civil plaintiff for political and tactical reasons. When a woman is murdered, it is the entire collectivity that suffered the damage. Consequently, we act in the name of the collectivity. Secondly, we also try to win some compensation for the children and relatives of the victims.
About 16 months ago, the Italian government passed a new decree targeting crimes such as stalking of women and domestic violence. Today, the number of murdered women and domestic violence cases has not decreased. Until Italian society changes its cultural attitude towards women's rights, domestic violence will continue to be the country's ugly struggle. Max Civili for Reporters File, Rome.
And that's it for this Reporter's File. Thank you for watching us. Make sure you join us again right here on Press TV next week when we come back with 4 new reports from around the world.